Good morning. I am Allison Lighthizer, and I am so glad you guys are here. Welcome to the Body and Business Breakthrough Challenge. Today's day one, and so I'm going to give you a little overview of what we're going to be doing. I'm Allison Lighthizer. I'm an entrepreneurial coach for women, and I love helping people take their health challenges, their business challenges, and make a massive change by partnering with the way we're wired and training our brain, training our nervous system. So let me know where you're coming from, where you're watching from. And even if you're watching the replay, let me know in the comments that you're watching. I always try and go back and relook at all the comments. So you can ask questions as you watch, even if you're watching the replay, and I'll try and respond when I can. Hi, Mary Rose. Hi, Linda. Nice to have you guys here. Thank you. So when you guys are watching, if you have any comments, questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I live in Colorado. I'm coming to you from Colorado. It's still wintry here. There's still cold, but today it's supposed to be really nice. And then it's supposed to be like 17 degrees tomorrow morning. So, Colorado, it's sort of an all or nothing state. You get lots of weather changes here. So if you guys want to be eligible for prizes, we are going to be doing some giveaways. And what you need to do with that is post the homework every day. And how that's going to be is there's going to be a homework post in the Facebook group, and you can just respond in that thread, respond to the questions. You can post a picture of you and your workbook sheet, and whoever has done all the homework will be eligible for the prizes that I'm going to give away. And I'm going to announce the winner a different way. I'm going to do it there's going to be 3 main days of the Body and Business Breakthrough Challenge, and then there's going to be bonus days. And on the bonus day 3, the last day that we're going to be together, it's going to be a Zoom, so we can see each other's faces, and we're going to be doing some really fun things. So on that day, I'm going to announce the winners of the prizes. So I'm really excited about that. And then we also had a little pre-challenge kickoff, little pre-party challenge, and Debbie McDonald was the one who won that one. I was going to announce that last night, and then I have all three of my kids are sick, and I got wrapped up in helping them, and I didn't get on to announce it last night. So Debbie McDonald, well done. Well done. So I want to share with you guys some little things about me. Okay, let me get in the right spot. Okay, here we go. So this used to be me. At 16, I got a virus in my spinal cord, and I became quadriplegic, and I had a bunch of organ failure, nerve damage, intense fatigue, and excruciating pain. So this used to be me. And then after, 20 years of figuring stuff out, getting lots of help and just continuing to look for answers. These are some pictures. And a lot of people are like, well, how functional are you? And I did compete on American Ninja Warrior. It's that obstacle course TV show. I did that for 2 seasons. So I was able to return to pretty high level athletics. And my favorite picture on here is me with my kids, because that's when I wasn't feeling well. That's all I wanted, was to play with them at the park. So I love being active. I love taking in life, and I love being able to train my brain to be even better. Oopsies. Hang on here. Close your eyes. This is going to be a fast forward. We jump to the end. I'm not always the most technological, and sometimes you guys get to see that. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do the kind of overview of everything. So this is day 1. We're talking about the secret to taking back your health and up-leveling your business. So we're going to be talking about some main core values that we need to look at in our bodies that affect our symptoms and also affect our businesses. So we're going to be talking about that today. And then tomorrow we're going to be talking about, we all are busy. We all have like a lot to do. So how can we take back our time and take back our calendar? There's so much burnout, especially in women. So we want to prevent that, right? That's a huge problem in our symptoms and how we feel in our bodies and how we can show up for our families, for our businesses. So that's going to be tomorrow. And then day 3 is going to be awesome. We're going to talk about how we can break through to the next income for you, because money work is body work. And we're going to talk about that more on Friday. And then there's going to be 3 bonus sessions. So there's going to be Saturday is going to be focused on talking about symptoms and how we can really maneuver and optimize our healing to extinguish those symptoms. And then on Sunday, I'm going to be telling my story about how I went from quadriplegic to dancing and playing with my kids. And then on Monday, all of these are at the same time. They're at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And then on Monday, we're actually going to meet at night. We're going to meet at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So we are going to meet over Zoom, and you can get that link through the reminders and stuff. So we'll have that posted for you. And we're going to be able to meet face to face. And that day I'm going to be doing body scans. So I'm going to be going through different aspects of what is showing up for you in your body. So it's going to be individualized, and it's also a chance to ask questions and get answers. So that'll be lovely. And I really like that day because I love seeing your face. Okay. So we want to go back to here. Okay. So the gears of the nervous system is what we want to start talking about, because we can't talk about our brain and our body without talking about our nervous system. That's the core top dog that we need to change for if we want any changes in our symptoms, if we want any changes in how we feel, our well-being is, if we want any change in our business. So when we are talking about the nervous system, I use kind of brain and nervous system interchangeably, but the nervous system is the brain, and it's in all the nerves that come out of our spine and go throughout our body. So they are basically highways of signal conduction, right? It's messages that are getting sent from your brain to your body, and it gives your body marching orders, like move your hand to grab your cup, or freak out because you have a big meeting coming up, or, you know what, I feel totally threatened and unsafe. I think we should go back to bed. And I have a headache to help convince you to do that. So when we have this learning of what is actually fundamentally the basis of how our brain works, it's these 2 gears. We have 2 gears of our nervous system. We have sympathetic, which is fight, flight, or freeze. And we have parasympathetic, which is rest, digest, and heal. Both of these are amazing. We need all these things, right? We need both to have the fight, flight, or freeze, because that's essential. That keeps us alive. And we need the parasympathetic. We need the rest, digest, and heal. What happens, especially in the last 3 years, I would say, is we are totally stuck in the fight, flight, or freeze. And you can put in the chat, like, do you guys have problems with digestion? Do you have problems falling asleep, staying asleep, waking up and feeling like you've been hit by a truck instead of waking up refreshed? Do you have fatigue? Do you have, a lot of symptoms kind of fall into our inability to get out of the fight, flight, or freeze and into the rest, digest, and heal. So hey, Connie, thanks for saying hi, you guys. Also, if I don't say your name, it's because for me, it shows up as Facebook user. So you can grant StreamYard access to get your name if you want your name to show up. Otherwise, I'll be like, hi you, Facebook user. But anyway, these 2 gears are really the foundation of what we're going to be talking about today. So with this, we want to know, how can we change the information and get us out of fight, flight, or freeze and into rest, digest, and heal? Because that's where the magic happens. That is where the magic happens. So when we get information, it's like this, we get information to our brain from the external world, and that filters through our sensory organs, our eyes, our ears, our mouth, our nose, our touch. So it's kind of like if your brain was the earth and the satellites were like sending info to your brain, that's what's happening all the time. And we get inputs from our visual system. This is actually the top dog, and I've been talking about this from in the Facebook group for the last couple of weeks about how important our visual system is. And I've gotten to meet a few of you and check your eyes, which has been so fun for me. And we get 10 million signals per second per eye. That's how much information is loaded into our brain from our visual system. And when you think about that from a evolutionary standpoint, we get way more survival input from our visual system than any other one, right? So the analogy that I give is that if you were a hunter-gatherer and you were walking through the woods and you happen to see a predator in the distance, you could make a different survival choice if you were able to see that predator. You could be like, all right, I'm turning around. I'm going the other way. I'm looking for some blackberries over here. And if you got that information from another sensory organ, like if you heard it walking next to you, or if you got it from your proprioceptive system, which is like how you feel your feet on the floor, how you feel your clothes on your body, if you felt that, if you felt the bite of that predator on your body, and that's how your brain was getting the information, that window of survival is different, right? So the brain really prioritizes the visual system, and it works together with the vestibular system, with the inner ear, and the proprioceptive system, which is like your skin, how you feel touch and stuff, to create this wealthy information to make a decision. So your primitive brain is always asking, am I safe or am I not safe? Right? That's always what we're trying to address. And what happens is when we're stuck in the sympathetic gear of the nervous system, when you're stuck in fight, flight, or freeze, anything can feel threatening, like a traffic jam, like being late, like stubbing your toe. Like that could be, that can put you into a stress response, even deeper into a stress response. And what happens is when we have our brain telling us like all these different important information, and it's deciding that we're not safe, then we have this response. We have inputs of the information, and then we have outputs. So an output could be any symptom, it could be any course of action. And we also have this threat bucket. We're born with it empty, or hopefully mostly empty. And then it's not just the in the moment information that your brain and your nervous system are getting. It's not just the inputs of the now. It's any little trauma or experience throughout the years, right? An accident, a fall, all these things can be in there. Mental stress can be in there. Spiritual stress can be in there. Emotional stress for sure is in there. So we kind of get all this buildup in our bodies and our brains. And then what happens when the bucket's full? When there's that overflow, that is the output. Those are the symptoms that we experience. Those are the symptoms that are holding us back from connecting with ourselves, from connecting with our families, or connecting with future clients, connecting with our team members. So we have these inputs of the visual, vestibular, or proprioceptive. Then we have all the other stuff in our life and that's going in the bucket. And then all of that is going into our brain, and the brain is saying, am I safe or am I not safe? Oops. I'm really struggling here today. And the output could look like anything. It could be different for you. So you can put in the chat, like, what is an output for you? It could be muscle tension. It could be headaches. It could be fatigue. It could be anxiety. And the output that we experience is made in the brain, but it's felt in our body. Like, you don't feel fatigue is not a thought. Migraines, not a thought. You are feeling that in your body, but it's always manufactured by the brain. That's why when we can train the brain, when we can intervene in the way that we're getting and sending information, we can change the output. So that is really exciting because the outputs could look like any of these things. This is not an exhaustive list by any means. And when we experience these, it takes us away from life. It takes us out of the game, and it takes us away from our ability to close deals and get new clients and experience more income and impact with other people. So outputs, the input goes to the brain. All these things goes to the brain. The interpretation is always asking, am I safe or am I not safe? And then the output for you could be, hip pain. It could be plantar fasciitis. It could be anything. And what's so interesting is when you can break up that cycle, when you know your body, when you know your brain, you can change it. So that's such good news. And outputs can also be internal, more of like an invisible way. They can be on a GI level, and your indigestion could be an output. Your immune system issues, your autoimmune issues could be an output. Your pain, definitely an output. And a lot of times people don't think about like weight gain or PCOS or anything like that. That could be an output too. So it's very, very interesting to think about all of our symptoms in that category, because if we're not victimized by them, if we can have some say in how it's going down, we can change it, right? We can change it. And then, let's see, let me come back here. So when you are experiencing those symptoms and experiencing those outputs, it's not fun. It is not fun. I've had so many different outputs, and I really am so grateful for the way that we can create change in our body, because I spent a long time feeling a lot of those outputs that I put up. Okay. Oh yeah. Somebody said an output could be good. That is totally true. Thanks for saying that. So your brain, when it feels threatened, usually creates an output that's unpleasant. But when your brain feels safe, the interpretation is, I'm safe, we're good, let's party. That could be good. We could have muscle relaxation. We could have increased energy. We could have better sleep. We could have better rest. So an output doesn't have to be bad. It's just how your brain interprets it. And usually we are not experiencing, if you're here today, it's usually because you have experienced some outputs that are uncomfortable, some outputs that are not something you want to continue living with. And we want more of those good outputs. We want more of those good outputs. Okay. So when we get that information into our brain, it's taking the current information it's getting, and it's like overlaying all of that info with everything we've experienced before, because the brain likes to be able to predict what's going to happen. When you go into a new space, when you go to a new country, that can be, even if it's exciting, that can be a little bit stressful, because your brain doesn't know how to predict it. And it often likes to think of past experiences that you've had, like, oh, remember last time they lost your luggage, and remember last time the water was cold, and remember last time there wasn't anything for you to eat. So there's a lot of safety in being able to predict. And when we have that view of change as being threatening, like change can be associated with a lot of bad things, even if it's a good change. Even if you're like, I'm going to try and eat more kale, I'm going to try and eat more healthy vegetables, and I am going to try and work out. That can be stressful on your nervous system. If your brain is thinking like, oh man, remember last time that food poisoning on that salad? Or remember last time you got hurt? So there can be a lot of ways that your brain puts on the brakes for a new habit or a new experience because it's not getting the correct information. So a lot of the nervous system training is giving your body new information, giving you an updated experience of what is happening now, because it's not 5 years ago anymore. It's not 10 years ago. And so when we can give ourselves that powerful update, you can make new choices and you can experience new things feeling a different way. I want you guys to put in the chat, like, what do you notice in your body or in your mind when you're stressed? Like, it could be a thought pattern. It could be shortness of breath. It could be like tightness in your chest. It could be your eye starts twitching. You could feel anxiety. Like, what pops it for you? How do you know that you are stressed? Like, sometimes we go around through the whole day and then we're like, oh my gosh, my neck hurts so bad. I must be really stressed, or my brain must have thought today was really stressful. And if you already have outputs going on, like if you wake up with outputs or you start getting symptoms throughout the day, if you're stressed, if you're in the fight, flight, or freeze response, that's only going to magnify those symptoms, right? It's just going to pump up the volume. And that's the dance party we're not interested in, right? So, okay, cool. So you guys, there's fatigue, there's some infectious stuff going on, some immune system challenges, and there's some back pain. Someone said, safe makes me feel so crazy free and optimistic. Yeah, there's like, when the brakes are off, there's so many new possibilities. Jaw pain and welts. Okay. Yes. Yep. Someone said they feel heavy and angry. So that's a great example of the output doesn't necessarily have to be like a headache. It could be emotional. When your brain feels threatened. Have you guys seen Inside Out? It's a animated movie, and there's like joy and sadness and fear and anger. So sometimes when our brain gets into survival mode, like that fear or the anger, disgust gets behind the wheel, and they're the ones that are driving the bus. So that's a good visual to be like, this is what's happening right now. If you feel yourself getting angry, sometimes it's like, my brain, this is an output, and I need to help resource myself because maybe a boundary's been crossed, maybe, something went wrong that your brain is feeling really threatened by, and it's causing this emotional response. So stress response magnifies your symptoms, and the stress increases the distance between you and the people that you love, between you and your team, between you and your next client. So stress is not like bringing us together, right? We are like pushing everything away, like anything new, anything expansive, anything that requires maybe more openness isn't going to happen because we are closing down the shop. This is fetal position. If you think of extreme, not feeling safe, usually you want to be in a dark room, no visual stimulus. You don't want more information, right? You don't listen to music even. You want to be in a fetal position. Like that would be the extreme of, I need to get out of here. I cannot be here. And what's so interesting is with the stress, that nervous system contraction, that is not where you want to be with your brand. That's not where you want to be with your clients. That's not where you want to be with your friends, right? And when we are in that, and so often there's like a constant of being in that stress response, being in that contraction, we're not going to get where we want to go very easily. There's a lot of blocks there, and we need to learn how to unblock that, get into parasympathetic, get into that rest, digest, and heal, and become more expansive. So the nervous system also has this job. We talked about it has that initial question that it's asking, am I safe or am I not safe? It can get that from the environment. It can also get that from other people. We have these things called mirror neurons, and we look at other people and we look at how they're responding, how they're reacting. And guess what? We live in a world where there's a lot of people who are in stress response. And when you're around people who are in stress response, it can be difficult to interact with them. And it also will elevate your own stress response. So I think about this like a mother and child. When we are normalizing a threat for somebody, say that kid falls, and mother A can be like, oh my gosh, that looked terrible. Are you okay? Oh, you must feel so much pain. Like that must have hurt so badly. And then mother B is like, wow, that was a fast way to get down. Are you the Flash? And when the kid is experiencing those reactions, obviously there's more reactions than just two, but like those are the extreme, right? If the kid is getting the information from the mom, like, oh man, that was bad, I should cry, I should feel really bad. Or if the kid is getting like, oh, that was kind of cool, maybe I am the Flash, maybe I do have secret superhero powers. It changes the way that their brain's interpreting that information. It changes the way from getting up and moving on with their day, or like crying on the floor for 30 minutes and needing 18 Band-Aids. So we do that with each other. We do that with ourselves. And that's why when you're around a group of people that are doing the same thing as you, they're all trying to get to the same goal, the steps become easier, because you're all reflecting back the process. You're all reflecting back to one another the changes that you want to make. And you tell them with your facial expression, you tell them with eye contact, you tell them with their body language, you tell them with like unspoken, like there's an energetic, palpable feel when someone walks in the room and their nervous system is regulated, their nervous system is expanded, right? Everyone's like, ooh, I want to go talk to them. Or they feel immediately drawn to them, right? Versus if someone comes in anger or fear or driving the boat and they have like an Eeyore storm cloud over their head, you're kind of be like, I'm going to get a drink. I don't need to go talk to them. I'm going to go get some more water. So we can co-regulate in a group. We can co-regulate in our family, and we can co-regulate with our team, with our clients. We can call each other higher. And that's one thing I think is so powerful about the nervous system. Like, yes, we all want to be more comfortable in our bodies, but we also want to be a leader. We also want to change the atmosphere and the experience that we're having with the people around us. So being successful in that regard, like being successful in business, being successful in changing your symptoms and rewiring your brain, all has to do with the nervous system, with the state of your nervous system. And it's so powerful because the state of your nervous system is like a domino effect, right? It can tip the next one and the next one and the next one. And that can be hormonal changes in your body. That can be stress hormones turning off or on. That can be inflammation turning off or on. That can be your organs changing function, right? Because when you're in fight, flight, or freeze, these are mutually exclusive. You can't be in fight, flight, or freeze and in rest, digest, and heal. So if you are in fight, flight, or freeze, you can't digest your food. You're not going to absorb those amazing nutrients that you're giving yourself. You're not going to be able to transfer that to energy to your body. And there's the way that the type of therapy that I did initially to get my function back was called integrative manual therapy. And the way that they used to work was people would fly in from all over the world and they would have these intensives, they would call it. And there was a bunch of massage tables in a large room. And every therapist and client would be like on, the client would be on the table, the therapist would be working on them. But that was weird, right? It can be overwhelming. It felt like this is not the sterile like doctor's office where no one knows anything. No one knows my name. No one knows anything about my information. It's all very closed and private. But here's what happened. When you would see, similar people, they'd be getting treated throughout the day. And then you'd see them like test the range of motion beforehand. And then they would be like way better afterwards. Or they would stop walking with their limp. Or they'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm not dizzy anymore. Or my chest feels so much more open. Thank you. You would kind of like hear those little floaty things going around in the room, and that resonates with you. Like, oh my gosh, they're getting better. I can get better too. And when you do something as a group, you elevate your results. So have you guys, you can put in the chat, like, have you ever tried to be like, okay, I'm going to run every morning, or I'm going to work out every morning, or I'm going to eat healthier? Have you ever done it on your own? And how did that go for you? And have you ever joined like a fitness class or done it with a buddy? And how did that go for you? Usually it's a lot easier to jump in with the momentum of another person or a group. And when this happens, you're like magnifying the ripples that are going out, that are helping your body change, that are helping your mind change. I think about like when I go to church and they play a worship song, and I might have played that same worship song on my phone in the car on the way there. But when there's something about like when everyone's doing it, when everyone's elevating their experience and lifting their eyes and lifting their hands, it's like the music goes deeper, wider, more profound, right? You're in it. You're in it with them. So when you're magnetized like that, when you're expanded, when your nervous system is balanced and your brain is able to be like, okay, let's do this, you are going to be able to draw in the things that you need. We have like this magnet inside of us. And when we're in the stress response, it shuts down, like it's blocked. And when we're in that expansiveness, we're more open. Our hearts are like, yeah, let's do this. Bring it on. And when you're in that place and you can connect with your kids that way, when you can connect with your spouse that way, when you can do a healing modality and get in there that way, when you get on a sales call and connect with a client that way, totally different. When you are around people like that, you want to be around them. Not only do you want to be around them, but it reminds you like it's good to be there too. It brings you back to yourself. And when we can train that nervous system flexibility in our bodies, there's way more possibility for change. There's way more possibility for impact and income changes and symptom changes. So when you're stressed, you know what it feels like. You put that in the chat. When you are expanded, when you're centered, how does that feel? Put that in the chat. Like when we're writing this down and we're all contributing, we play off each other, right? Like someone might say, I can breathe easier. And someone else might say, oh, my muscles feel looser. And when we read those, like right now, we're in a process together. This live training is helping train your nervous system. And when we are doing that together, when we're contributing like that, we read those comments and we're like, oh yeah, forgot about that. I do feel that way. Or like, I feel joyful. Oh yeah, I kind of feel that way too. That's a good way to say it. So there's like a freedom that we get, and there's an amplification that we get when we share and celebrate and remember how it feels to come back to ourselves in a balanced way. When we are in that expansive mode, we also are more receptive, right? We talked about fight, flight, or freeze, blocks it, shuts it down. And that's like a contracted place. And when we are in rest, digest, and heal, and our nervous system is flexible and can move flexibly between the two, we can receive more. So that could be more bang for our buck, like in a therapy session. That could be more money. That could be more like a deepening of a friendship or relationship. And we're designed this way. Like God designed us to have a brain like this. We're supposed to be able to move flexibly between the two. And there's so much stress that's happened in the last 3 years, and a lot of change that has happened. And that has triggered this like lockdown in ourselves. Like we were locked down, and I'm seeing more and more that people are having a harder time being flexible in their nervous system and move from that fight, flight, or freeze into the rest, digest, and heal. And to move out of that, the only way to do it is partner with how we were made. We have to know that our brains are wired this way, and we have to be able to retrain how to move flexibly back and forth. And symptoms and money are the same in the sense that they're both outputs. Like if we feel that fight, flight, or freeze, and we have the output of symptoms, negative symptoms, we also could have the same thing with money. Like if money feels threatening in some way, holding it, bringing it in, the requirement that means I have to do more, or the maybe the beliefs that are wired, like, oh, that means I'm bad if I have more money, or whatever it is for you. Money can be the same as a symptom. It's wired into your tissues. It's a body issue. Money is a body issue, and we're going to talk about that more on Friday. But there's so many ripple effects that our mind, that our nervous system and our brain has for our physical health and for our relationship with our business. And the way that we can change that is working with our brain. And when we have this resistance on whatever level, sometimes people do like brain retraining, and they're just like saying something over and over again, like, I'm abundant, or I draw in the right people, something like that. Like you can say stuff all day long, but guess what? If you don't do it and wire it into your body, if you don't do it and have the body work incorporated in, it's going to go in one ear, out the other. Like you might be super diligent with trying to like rewire your brain or rewire your beliefs around something. And what I've found is the programs that are just focused on like mental stuff they're not as effective, because we're not just a brain. We're organs, we're tissues. There's a lot of other things happening, but we are going to do an exercise to help you rewire your brain. And that's going to be using your imagination. And with that, we're going to do that in a minute. But with that, we're going to be very focused on how it feels in our body. Like I've asked you guys to write stuff down. Let me just see what you said. Okay. With feeling more expansive, people wrote group love. Yeah. Cool. Deep breath is easy. Yeah. Feels natural, right? Feels good. Feels like this feels good. It's easy. My world gets huge. Yes, totally. There's way more options when we're in that expansive place. We're not so closed down. So when we experience those really wonderful things, there's a different opportunity, right? And another movie reference I wanted to make was, have you guys seen Tarzan, the animated one? It's there's a little character in there. It's an elephant. His name is Tantor. And there's a scene in there where he's really anxious. He's an anxious elephant. And he puts his little foot in the water, and he says to his mom, like, are you sure this water is sanitary? It looks questionable to me. And so he's kind of like testing it out, and he's not sure if it's safe. His brain sees water and thinks threat. His brain sees all the other elephants in the water and still is like unconvinced that it's safe. So he's looking for that experience of safety. And when we have these nervous systems that are flexible, expansive, we hold that for ourselves, but we also hold it for others. And think about that with your brand. Like if you are in a contracted place, if you're in fight, flight, or freeze, and you're meeting with a client, what you're showing them is that water is not sanitary. They're like testing you out, right? They're like, am I sure that I want to work with you? Am I sure that I can help, that you can help me get results? And their nervous system is like pinging off of yours. So the ability for you to be like, yep, water's safe, dive in, come on in, it's great in here, is a huge, huge step for your business, because we want to build those relationships. We want to build those brands that people like, know, and trust, so that they can move forward, not only for their own life, but be open to experiencing the change and the powerful way that you help other people in your life. So when they are thinking about buying your product or buying your service, they're not actually buying your product or service. They're buying the way that you make them feel. Do you make them feel safe? Do you make them feel like possibilities are okay, right? And with our symptoms, when we change our brain, we can change all those that domino effect that's happening in our body. We can change our organs. We can change the way that our body can heal. The volume of our ability to heal gets turned way up. And we have different ripples that go out when that is the case, when like the central pebble is one of expansiveness, safety, and openness. Like that creates way more ripples going out, not just in our own bodies, but in our atmosphere, in our home, in our business, in our friendships. There's a Bible verse. It's Colossians chapter 3, verse 22, or verse 2. Sorry. And it says, set your mind on things above, not on earthly things. And I think that's really cool to think about with the nervous system training, because when we're in fight, flight, or freeze, we are anchored to the present. We're anchored to the present danger. We're anchored to the earth. We're anchored to, things not going quite right. And when we have this faith and trust that we have a creator that loves us, when we have the support that we need, we have this heavenly gaze, we have more options, right? And that is true for our bodies. It's true for our minds. It's true for our families. And so right now, I want to help you guys rewire like a missing experience. For some of you, it might be missing. For some of you, it might just be reminding you of what's going on. And this is different than affirmations. And one of the greatest gifts that God gives us, I think, is our imagination. And when we can really tap into that and access that, there's so many studies about it. And athletes use this a lot. But when we're doing it, we are creating an experience for our nervous system that's wired in our tissues. It's wired in our body. It's felt, right? And when we just like say like, la, 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 everything's going to work out versus like feeling where that lands in our body, it's totally different. It resonates on a different level and it creates new opportunities. So we are going to have this imagination experience and we are going to create a way that you can wire this in. And what I want you guys to do is just check in with yourself right now, like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like you are doing backflips and pirouettes while you're listening to me. And 1 is you're in bed. You can't get out of bed because you feel awful. So right now, I want you to put the number of where you're at in the chat. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you right now? And then we're going to check in with that after we do this. So we're going to ask our brain to do this exercise so we can hold more possibilities. And this can be really key to your nervous system to have an introduction to something can shift, something can change. I don't have to be in a fetal position inside my brain right now. And it's like creating fun. It's creating options. It's creating a different outcome. So I want you guys to, while you're doing this, there's a few different options for you. So I'm going to be talking and you guys can be laying down if you want. You can be sitting up, whatever you want to do, but you're going to connect with your breath. And if you would like to, if you hold a baby and you pat it on its back, you're just like snuggling it. If you want to like tap on your heart and just like kind of like pretend that you're a baby and you're like rocking back and forth, you're soothing yourself. Like, it's okay, little nervous system. You got this. We're doing this together. You're not alone and you're safe. So you can do that with yourself. You can put your hands on your body to kind of anchor your physical experience in. And there's another option. I don't know if you guys have done this before, but when you're doing this and you're trying to get your brain activated around it, you can also tap like on one side and then the other, like bringing both sides of the brain in. And when we do that, we're helping set up those neural connections. But what's most important about the imagination is we're going to layer in the five senses. Okay. So you can close your eyes and just listen to me, and you can choose to do that kind of like patting baby rocking thing, or you can choose to do the bilateral tapping on either side, alternating, or you can do nothing. Totally up to you. So we're going to use imagination to create an experience for your brain, because it doesn't know the difference between something that's real and something imagined when you bring in these five senses. So I want you to close your eyes. I want you to breathe in and breathe out and just feel where your breath is in your body. Feel the seat that you're on. Feel the clothes on your skin. And I want you to imagine this could be like a separate environment. It could be a different room. This could be a real place, or it could be imagined. I want you to imagine a place where you're totally safe. I want you to imagine a place that feels amazing to be in. The temperature, just right. The air, perfect. The humidity level, so supportive, feels amazing. And in this place, you feel totally calm. And how does that feel in your body? In that place, what happens to your muscle tension? What happens to your symptoms? You feel amazing. You feel energized. You feel like your vitality is humming. It's vibrating. It's pulsing. And you feel completely balanced, supported. Take a deep breath, drawing all that in, all of it in. And on your exhale, you can imagine that experience of safety and calm and energy just spreading throughout your body. Exhaling, breathing it over and marinating every single cell. And what are the sights that you see in that place where you feel totally safe, totally balanced, totally supported? What colors are there? What textures? Where's the light reflecting? Where are there shadows? What are you wearing in that place? What is the texture of the fabric on your skin? Totally safe, totally supported, balanced. And what do you notice in that space? Like, what are the sounds that you hear? Can you feel the vibration of the sounds in your body? And what are the smells that are there in that really safe, supported place? And when you reach out and touch the different textures, what do you feel? Is it silk? Is it a smooth leaf? Is it sand? When you reach out your hand, can you feel the sunlight on your skin? And then finally, what do you taste in that safe place? Taking a deep breath, layering in those sights and sounds, smells, tastes, and feels in this experience. You're already free. You're already whole. You're already expanded, balanced. And the atmosphere is shifting inside you. And you can be fully supported in that radical, deep certainty and trust that you're totally and completely loved. Take a deep breath. So as you finish up this experience, you can take a couple more breaths here, and you felt it. This is more concrete for you now, so you can revisit it anytime. In fact, it would be great if you visited it a lot of the time, because this is a way to tell your brain that you're safe, you're calm, you're supported, you have options. And take another breath or two here, and then come on back to the present moment. And I want you to just scan your body and check in with that 1 through 10 scale and see, where are you now? See if it changed. And then put it in the chat. A lot of times when you give yourself this experience, you're resetting your nervous system. You're resetting the possibilities for what comes next. You're experiencing like openness, softness, cellular improvement in how things are exchanging, how oxygen is being exchanged, the fuel to your brain, how you're absorbing the glucose and the oxygen and getting it to your brain. So there are, looks like there's quite a few numbers that are larger, bigger. We got 9, 9.5, 7, 7. Great. That's great, you guys. So I love that you had that experience. And imagination is just one way that we can train our brain. It's one way that we can just step into that experience of what would it be like if next time you're in a stressful situation, you're like, okay, this is uncomfortable and I would like something different. So I'm going to go back to that place. I'm going to go back to that place where I felt safe and nourished, supported. You can get yourself out of that. You can get yourself in a different place. What if you did that before your next sales call? What if you did that before your next family reunion? Like, your experience is going to be so different, and you're going to be the person when you walk in the room or when you walk in that mixer or, networking event where people are like, oh, I'd like to meet them. They look really fun and cool. You're rewiring your nervous system for possibility, for healing, for hope, for exchange. And that is a powerful thing, really powerful thing. And that's going to change your physiology. That's going to change your business. It's going to change your relationships. And it's going to change your ability to bring in money, keep it, and your relationship with it. So for your homework, I want you to think about what's really holding you back from reaching the next level of success, either in your healing journey or in your business. What is the obstacle for you? After talking about today, we know there's 2 gears of the nervous system, right? We know our brain gets information from a lot of different sources, from our visual system, our vestibular system, our proprioceptive system, like how we feel our body in space. And then we also talked about the threat bucket and how there's a lot in there. There can be a lot in there. And the overflow, the symptoms that we're experiencing, the blocks that we're experiencing, is just a created response of our brain, and it's felt in the body. So when you think about what's blocking you, and you can put this in the homework, in the graphic that's in the Facebook group, just respond to that thread. And I want you to think about what is blocking you in light of what you learned today. That symptoms are changeable, our nervous systems are changeable, and we can do it on our own. We don't need like lasers and fancy equipment. We can just do it on our own. So for tomorrow, we're going to be talking about how we can use these concepts to create more time, to create more room in our life for things that we want to do, for fun, for healing, for change, for effective conversations. So tomorrow we're going to be here at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And I can't wait to see you guys live. Or if you're watching the replay, I'm really excited for you to comment as you watch it, and we can keep this conversation going. It's not too late to invite somebody. Like if you want to, after learning today, like what you learned, if you want to share that with somebody, invite them. You can send them the registration link and they can get hooked up with this as well, because it's so valuable and not a lot of people know this information. So send it to your best friend, send it to your business group, because when we do this together, when we create this atmosphere of nervous systems that are mirroring each other, we are going to change. We're going to be the ones that benefit from this. We're going to be the ones that benefit from walking through this together. Okay. So have a wonderful day. I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow, and thanks for coming.